Welcome to the Great Aussie Shit Show. This is the layman's guide in how to take on the system, the establishment, the people that call themselves politicians, court officials or cops. Have you got yourself a speeding fine you want to challenge? Why do you want to challenge it? Is it because you know it's corrupt? Or is it because I know I was beating the speed limit or fighting within their system? When you want to fight the system, you've really got to step back and take a long, hard look at these people, what it is that they're doing, who they're representing, and how it concerns you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Gregory Stewart, the author of Australian Night Discovery. For those of you who have read my pinned post, I'm about to start breaking it down. And this really is a layman's guide. How about we have a disclaimer? Who gives a shit? It's educational. Use it, don't use it. The biggest message I have for all men and women of this country is to simply use your own brain, make up your own mind, but do it after you've had a really good look at who these people are, who they represent, and what they're actually doing to we the people and our country. Backstory is, quite a few years ago, I was pulled up on the side of a road and accused of speeding, and I thought I'd test the system. You know, if you've read my pinned post, you've seen a lot of reference material down the bottom, and there are other people that have really influenced what I've been looking at and gauging an idea of why I should challenge these people. Well, when I was pulled up, they made these accusations. I thought they're trying to sell me some colour of law here, and I don't want it. So long story short, my pinned post is about my experience. Many years ago, I started looking into things like laws. You know, where do you start looking at this stuff? Yeah, you hear about the American Constitution. They've got a constitution. They know how to speak the Constitution, use it in their defence, and it seems to work for them. What do we have? So you start, you know, I'll be honest with you, I started with social media groups, you know, Facebook. As much as you want to bag Facebook and Google and things like this, I mean, you've really got to use your own brains as to whether or not these people are sending you information. And not only that, whatever they send you, don't believe a word that they say. Don't believe anybody. Do your own research into this stuff. That way you get your own grounding, your own standing. And that's exactly what I've tried to do with myself. It's called your due diligence. And when you do your due diligence, you're basically conducting an investigation. You want to collect material. You want to collect information. You want to look into all sorts of things. And people are making claims. You want to look into laws. Well, let's have a look at the structure of law. First, there are laws for men and women. The first law was God's law, the 10 Commandments, set in stone. And everything else is an extension of God's law. That's why we have laws. It's for a just, peace-loving, law-abiding society. Everyone gets to go about living their lives peacefully, going about their business without being harassed and interrupted. You know, God gave us a life to live. So, in order to live a peaceful life, you need laws. I need laws. We all need laws. We all want laws. And we need a system that upholds those laws. Now, with laws for men and women, you've got things like the Constitution. The Constitution of our country, which is the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK, as proclaimed and gazetted on the 1st of January 1901. That Constitution, when you start reading through it and the commentaries, if you get yourself a copy of the Australian Constitution, or the Constitution of the Australian Commonwealth, quick and Garran version, rather, when you get that, you've got the annotations and you've got the interpretations behind the law, and the interpretation is very important to why the law was created in the first place. So when you've got laws for men and women. So on the different tiers of law, that's the first one. That's laws are for men and women. The Constitution, you've got, you know, the common law. Common law is an extension of God's law. What is common law? Well, it has a simple ethos. It is no injured man, no injured woman, no damaged property equals no crime committed. That's it. No crime committed. With things like legislation, the term good governance is what I look at and I think to myself, good governance, what is it that makes a government good? Well, a good government is there to uphold and defend a man's rights. That's what good governance is. And legislation was created in order to control, if you like, the corporate level of society. So when you go into a business and when you go to trade, it's the corporation that needs to make sure that they're behaving in a manner which is honourable. That's why legislation is created. And then the next tier underneath that is corporate policy. So you work at a certain factory. In order to get onto this floor, you need to have a high-vis vest and safety boots. And if you don't have that requirement, you've got to go home and you'll get docked. That's a penalty. That's a corporate policy. So that's only bound on the men and women that go into that company and sign on. So you've got the laws for men and women, you've got legislation, and you've got corporate policies. Well, who are these people in our parliaments? Now, I'm going to get you to Google Treasury Corporation of Victoria Board of Directors. And I'd like you to explain to me in any way, shape or form that you can is who are these people? Because these people are the Treasury Corporation of Victoria incorporated as the Victorian government. So technically these things can sort of exist, Victoria Police can be a corporate entity, but they can only enforce the corporate policies that they're making within their corporation. You see, and that's what they are. Victoria Police are corporate policy enforcers. If you wish to take on the system, you've got to start learning. The first step that you need to start taking care of and start taking proper note of is the language that's being used and why it's being used. In 1973, one of the references I've got on my pinned post is Dick Yardley's book, Australian Political and Religious Leaders, Treason, Treachery and Sabotage by Dick Yardley. Now, in the first dozen pages, you'll get a very good idea of what went wrong, when it went wrong, and, according to Dick Yardley. So, don't believe a word that he says. Don't take it for gospel. Start looking this stuff up yourself. Look into it. What claims is he making? Okay, well, then let's have a look at all these things. One thing you will come across is a thing called the Unidroit Agreement. Now, the Unidroit Agreement is basically taking us away from England and common law and putting us into a Roman system. Now, that Roman system, believe it or not, has a language that runs parallel to our language. They've set up an education system so we parrot this specific language. And to give you an idea, an example, when a policeman pulls you over and he says, "Hello driver, is this your vehicle?" He's not saying, "Hey man at the wheel, is the car that you're in, is that yours?" He's making an accusation as well as asking a question. See, the accusation by saying the word person in a legal dictionary. So you've got the Oxford English Language of the Living Dictionary and you've got the Black's Law Language of the Dead Dictionary. These languages are the same, running side by side. So what a policeman is saying to you is, "Hello man engaged in transportation and or commerce, is this car that is engaged in transportation or commerce yours?" And by simply saying, "Yeah," "Hello driver, is this your vehicle?" "Yeah." What you're actually agreeing to is what he says. And then you've got, "Do you understand?" Do you understand? Do you stand under that comment? Well, that's what they're asking. They're not asking, "Do you comprehend?" When you start looking at the terms and definitions that they're using against you, you soon learn that you're not actually speaking language of the living, you're now speaking language of the dead. They're actually trying to turn us into corporate fictions, a business registration. That's what a person is. When you look at their legislation, it only concerns a person. It does not concern a natural person. In order to use the word person and to indicate that you're speaking to a living man or woman, you have to put natural person. because a person is McDonald's, a person is a business registration, Hungry Jack's, Woolworths. These are persons. This is a person. They are business registrations. When you get a summons from the court, it's from Victoria Police versus whoever you are, or whatever corporate fiction name that they're wanting you to assume that you want to be. And it really is like that. When you go into a courtroom and you get a liar, he's going to represent you as a dead legal fiction. He's not there to represent you because he knows more than you know. Language is the first barrier you really need to open your mind to and start looking into. You've got multiple things that you can look at. Justinian Deception on YouTube. Romley Stewart gives a really good breakdown on languages, and the doublespeak is how he references it. Okay, so I'm only leading you to people that I think have the best interests at heart, and they're doing their best to expose the shit show, and some of the deception that these people are using against you. So when you look at things like languages that they're using, the legal definitions that we're not simply taught, we're not educated on this stuff. We're in the system, the Roman system, that we're designed to speak this way and act this way, but there's something else going on there. It's part of the deception. So when you get language down pat, you start to question, who are these people? Where do they get their authority from? When you start looking in, if you want to fight in the system, you can fight in the system, because the Roman system has a simple ethos. It's make so many bloody rules that not even the lawmakers know what the rules are. And within their system, if you actually look hard enough, you can fight successfully in the system, because there's so many different acts and legislation bits or whatever they're trying to flog off. All of their corporate policies they're trying to flog off as legislation. You can actually find legislation that's older than the crap that they're forcing you to do something new, and completely beat it, because first in line is best in time. These things aren't repealed, they just stack on top, on top, on top, and you can actually find things that are actually cancelling all the crap they're relying on to steal your money. But my point is, take yourself out of the system. The first question you should be asking is, who are these people and where do they derive their jurisdiction from? You see, the Imperial Acts Application Act is a special document, especially for the people of Victoria, because it is Victorian legislation. It was made from the Parliament of Victoria, not the Victorian government. Two separate things. One's alien to the other, believe it or not. So the Imperial Acts Application Act states something to the effect of, all promises of fines and forfeiture of property must come through a court of competent jurisdiction. Well, where do they get their competency and where do they get their jurisdiction? What is it makes them competent? So this is what you want to be challenging. Who are you? That's the first step. Who are you? They're always telling you, I want your identification. Well, then you can bust out your 3 forms of identification. The questions I want to be asking from here on out is, you engage with the policeman. Hello, corporate policy enforcer. I do not contract with your corporation and I do not recognise you as having lawful authority. You are now required to provide me with 3 forms of identification, including your driver's license, your certificate of currency for your professional indemnity and public liability insurance, and the instrument of delegation of authority you're relying upon for your purported sense of authority. And until you give me that, anything you do is simply a demonstration of your willingness to commit multiple crimes against me, which simply serves to arm me with the absolute, undeniable, and infinite ability to defend myself by any and all means necessary to equal or greater force. It's not up for negotiation, argument, further comment, or discussion. I don't know you, you're an alien. You've got to start busting out your 3 forms of identification. And that's it. So this is the first part of many videos that I'm going to try to put together to make for you. So it's a layman's guide in order for you to look at multiple things, bring it together, and make up your own mind. Keep an eye out on YouTube for South Rock Productions. Head on to my Facebook page, Gregory Stewart. Again, I am the author of Australian Night Discovery, and I'm here to help you take back control of who you are and your estate. Till next time.